Hello and welcome to MS Report. I'm your host, Second Soundwave.
How's it going, YouTube? Dan the Plastic Man here. Hope you guys are doing well. This is episode 4 of MS Report.
And this is Max Duo saying hello. That's
Only
it.
took us half an hour to start.
We have technical difficulties every time.
Every single time, and they're all always different.
We always have to run the gamut.
Well, the strangest thing this time, this was the weirdest one because it's always been a slight hardware or software related thing. And this time I set everything up the exact same way I've done every single time, and it just didn't work. Dan was invited to listen but not do anything with us. He was just going to stand there silently. So I guess this episode we were just going to basically address a comment someone had made at one point where they basically just said, how do we get into Gundam or anime? And we were going to kind of, mention the origins of both of that, kind of what we watched through initially. Go into however much detail we feel like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. But before that, I guess we are going to run through a little bit of the news recently. They had another hobby magazine come out and had big hopes to maybe get some promising stuff in it, but the only nice thing I really saw in it was the green Quanta, which had cat ears.
I like the cat ears. I really do. I think that looks perfectly fine.
For some odd reason, it actually does work with the design of the suit.
Especially if it ends up actually being Shia's mobile suit, because honestly, that would kind of fit her character, and I really could see her doing that for her kit.
Yeah, I really think the only reason it really bothers me so much is even though I've watched through all of Build Fighters and just finished Try the other day, I have trouble looking at them and thinking of it as being here's this kid's invention or design. In my head, Gundam is still supposed to be this big military universe thing, so it's rare that it's going to be here's the cat-eared mobile suit.
Although I almost want to see an actual normal Gundam series where one of the pilots just has cat ears on their custom mobile suit just because. I want to see that.
I think the closest we're ever going to get is the pink Zaku from Destiny.
Yes, something like that. That kind of thing. But cat ears.
You can just go with G Gundam stuff. Here's a windmill.
Exactly, yes. And it's funny. It's really funny that you mentioned that in the origin story episode, because that was actually one of the first Gundam designs I ever saw.
Nice. It was one of the earlier ones for me, but I guess more into that later. My big disappointment in G Gundam, I was telling Dan this 2 weeks ago, is I always felt kind of sad about the Russian Gundam. I said it should just have a giant vodka bottle, and I don't remember the rest. Maybe some Zangief chest hair.
I have to say, I actually really like the look of the Tequila Gundam. I would buy a high grade of that. It's got a sombrero, it's got a cactus arm, it's called the Tequila Gundam. I just love it. It's awesome.
Well, I remember making a post on Reddit. I said something like Gunpla ruins birthdays or something was the title of the post I made, and it was when I was thinking about trying to, what I was going to get Dan for his birthday as a gift, and I was like, they should just make a Tequila Gundam model, and I'll send him that as a joke. So it ruined the birthday.
You could have sent a Super Fumina.
One of my friends up here, his fiance has put that together.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Even though she's a 1/44th, she's not tiny.
She is big. She's Master Grade size.
Wing X and Victory Gundam size, yeah.
Bigger than Victory, but definitely around the size of a Wing or X Gundam.
What a strange model.
Yep. I saw that and I was like, okay, there is no way they're gonna ever make a model that even in Build Fighters, and then they made it.
What, did they make the real model squishy?
Yes.
Only yes, and the abdomen section is squishy.
I think that's pretty much all it was in the anime too. Oh God. Actually, I thought that final battle I didn't mind the final battle in the first series where it was hey, let's save everything, but that one was just kind of hey, everyone's just kind of going crazy. Here's everyone's mobile suits again, and despite the fact that they're about to kill each other moments ago, here's Team Tri-Fighters just kind of flying away, holding hands now.
And I'm still really. I just have to say, probably the most puzzling one in that whole thing was the fact that they even made a kit at all of the Leopardo da Vinci. You see that for 4 seconds. 4 whole seconds of that kit in the entire show.
Well, then we have the super puzzling thing of okay, well, you've made this. Why not just go ahead and make a leopard?
And it's even worse. It's so horrible because I was looking at it. I was looking at it all along. I was looking at it from every angle, comparing it to the line art for the normal Leopard Gundam. All they had to do, the only things different between the original Gundam X version and the Build Fighters version is that it has doubles of each of the weapons, and it has different shoulders, and it doesn't have the knife on the leg. That's all that's different.
And as you say this, I'm just...
All they had to do
I'll say yes.
was include, like, they could have included, like, 6 parts to make the shoulders and the knife sheath and been just like, oh, you know, we have these extra on the manual, don't use them, wink, wink, and it would have been fine. It would have been a perfect kit. But just that little bit is off, and it frustrates me so much.
Dan said something that made me groan. He's like, you know, they could do a P Bandai. I said, no.
That's the worst part. It's close enough that it totally could be a P Bandai kit.
And it would be kind of a sort of sensible thing for them to do with it versus what they've been doing lately. But I was going to say, the whole time you're talking about how easy it would be to make the Leopard from the Leopard Da Vinci, I'm just staring at my Airmaster on the shelf like 4 feet away.
Yeah, that needs to be a standard release. If you were going to do a premium version of the Leopard, it would need to be that aquatic version.
That would be actually a good P Bandai release.
But speaking of P Bandai, we have that Impulse Gundam Blanche.
Yes. And I actually saw another picture of that on Instagram, and it looks like you actually get an alternate forehead piece that replaces the V-fin to make like the AI-controlled version.
That's cool. I groaned really hard when I saw it. Like, I don't mind that they made that a P Bandai, because like you said it as well. Like, you know, this is the perfect use of it, but we just have had like so many almost in a row now.
Yeah, it's funny because I literally would not have known that mobile suit existed without the kit. Like, I went on Gundam Wiki, and there's one sentence referencing it in the Impulse Destiny article, and that's it. Like, they say, oh yeah, by the way, there's a white version in this novel, and that's the only mention of it across the entire wiki.
And I don't remember, like, I mentioned before, was that a crystallized unicorn? Was that a new thing, or was that before the last episode?
No, I think that's pretty new. That's from, like, the last week or so.
Okay, I just remember seeing it and then seeing an update, and I couldn't remember what happened anymore.
I've been seeing it on Gundam Guy for the past 3 weeks or so.
I think it's pretty cool. Honestly, probably the Robot Damacy I'm most excited for is the Desert Zaku, just because there's no high grade for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be even more excited if it wasn't a web exclusive, which of course it is. And the worst thing about Robot Damacy and just Tamashii Nation in general is they'll make web exclusives out of like brand new molds.
Yeah. I fear that they will also do that with kits, be they high grade or master grade.
I mean, it's possible, but the thing is, the molding for like a 6-inch figure as opposed to a model kit is a lot less. Like, they don't actually have as many parts as the kit would, so it's not as big an investment to make a special mold just for a limited run thing. That, and they actually get more sales out of them because Tamashii Nations and Bluefin have a licensing agreement that allows them to share their exclusives. So you can actually get Tamashii Web exclusives over here in the U.S. They don't do it for everything, but they do it for most of it.
I do remember you mentioning that before now.
Yeah.
I was just trying to figure out like exactly how it was. I was thinking like I remembered it being available here some way, somehow, unlike the models.
Just right through Bluefin.
Oh. Well, the only other big thing was I was mentioning it to you guys before the podcast, but they released a little more info on Gundam Thunderbolt December Sky. There's going to be a theatrical release in Japan for about a week or so, and then it's coming out on Blu-ray and regular DVD, and there's going to be like a collector's edition, regular one. And it said there's going to be extra footage, which is really interesting to me, because you got the clips from the Battle of Aboku, and you've got a few shots of the Zeon being built.
Yeah.
One interesting thing about that pic, guys, if I can interrupt.
Yep.
There's 3 of them there.
Yep.
You can see the faces of all 3.
Because when I saw the screenshot there, it kind of just looked like one that was just like split up into a bunch of parts while they were building it. But
nope, it's multiples.
Yeah, I do remember when I was reading the manga of it. Like, I remember thinking it looked like there was just 2 of them, but also there was only like 2 panels of it. So I'm assuming it's going to be very, very brief in the anime. But the strangest thing about them having that battle there was that was kind of like the transition between part 1 of the manga to part 2, where they start being on Earth and other places. And so it just makes me wonder, are they, just not planning on continuing the manga like next year, or are they just kind of including this for now and then they'll have it like in something else later? Because the manga, I guess, does take forever, so I assume they were just waiting for a while before releasing more, but if this is going to be special DVD release only, it kind of makes me wonder if they have any intentions at all.
So was the multiple Zeongs canon before this?
I guess you could consider it canon because the one that Char got supposedly was 80% complete. We all know that story, and that's how the perfect
Eggs are just for show.
Yeah, but even with the big Zom, they were planning to mass produce, so I don't think it could be taken too far out of canon context that they were planning to mass produce the Zeong.
Hmm.
And I think I remember just, you saw one or two shots of it, and then there's just like a screen where you just saw like Zeong 2, and that was all it said.
Mm-hmm.
And it was never referenced again. But I think there was like this would be interesting. I can't remember what it was. I think it was like a like Thunderbolt style like Gelgoog or something that showed up in that battle. It was something I remember thinking it was really awesome, and I was like, I wonder why they never made a kit of this, because the manga started like 5 years ago, and they made a few things from it, and they never made anything more, and now that they're making the show, they're just making slightly recolored versions of the old models.
I'm really hoping that I really wish they do like the Rick Dom and the Gelgoog, because those just look really nice. And the At Guy and the Gog, if they ever do the Earth parts as like an animated thing, I hope they do kits of the Gog and the At Guy, because those actually look really awesome as well.
I'm trying to remember what the ones from there was. Okay, the At Guy, that one was in the manga.
And I'm like 80% sure there was a Gog as well. It might have been a custom that I saw, but I'm pretty sure it was a official thing from the manga.
I'm not sure. A lot of my reading of the end of that manga was just kind of on my cell phone on lunch break at work, so
just kind of skimming
tiny
through
screen. Yeah, tiny screen reading.
Right.
And I had wrote this one down to mention just because I thought it was kind of funny. But I saw a thing today about how Gundam cafes are going to start serving today beers in these extra tall Yakushiki mugs.
Oh, really?
I actually want to get one of those.
Yeah. I saw that and I was like, oh, I really need this.
Is it a gold mug?
No, it's just a clear mug that has like a silhouette of its face, so you can just put in like, I guess for some like ginger ale or maybe like orange juice or something, or a nice like amber colored like beer or something, so it has that color. But it's just kind of got like sort of the outline of it, but it looks really good.
I haven't actually seen that picture. You're gonna have to send that to me sometime because that actually sounds pretty cool.
Hang on a second, I'll find it and link it to you, okay?
Okay.
Though actually, I did. There was one other thing I remember that just came out today. They said there was going to be some kind of special broadcast in Japan on the 12th, and it was going to be like heavily focused on iron-blooded orphans, where they're going to show off a bunch of like new coming products and announcements. So of course, it's expected to be like a few kits and
absolutely
some other stuff. I assume
It's
like
also
some more busts.
It's also hosted by
Cookie and Cracker.
Yep. By
Oh, that's who they were. I saw the VAs there, but I'm not really familiar with the staff and whatnot of IBO, so I wasn't exactly sure who they were.
I only knew it because the description said it.
Exactly. Same.
Yeah,
I don't really pay much attention to voice actors at all.
Yeah, I'd been commenting to Dan over the past week or so, like, I wonder, we have to get something about what it looks like soon, because we're getting about 3 months away, and I figure they're going to announce it and give it a month or half, and then release it in time for it to be out before the show.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still really curious, are we going to get Barbatos Form 6, or is there going to be like a 6.5 or 7?
Well, we've already got 6, so...
Yeah.
Well, I mean, is it just going to start out with the regular 6, and then it gets upgraded?
It might be like that, like maybe like for like the first episode he's using the 6, then it like immediately gets destroyed and he gets a new Gundam.
Yeah, and it's also semi-interesting to think about just out of the only other series that's really done like a season thing was Gundam 00, and they just kind of jumped like 2 years in the future. So
and everyone had completely different mobile suits.
Yes. IBO though is like I could see it being less than a year if they jump ahead, but it would be really weird if they jump like 2, 4, 6, whatever years, because it seems like a lot of stuff is about to happen. So skipping several years ahead would be kind of weird. Because in 00 was kind of easy of just like Ribbons had the Outlaws take over super hard. And
yes, but like that was like this battle's won, but you could tell there was like something brewing like farther down the line, so it made sense for the next season to be 4 or 5 years in the future.
Yeah, but like the change there was just kind of like one big thing kind of happened and built up, whereas IBO feels like there's going to be a lot of changes that start happening.
A lot of things happening, yeah. Although I guess you can consider Double Zeta to be kind of a second season of sorts. Like tonally it's nothing like it, but I
Ugh.
mean, they kept like the same mobile suits and stuff through it, like like a good halfway into the show.
I prefer the fan theory of the Zeta movie makes it so Double Zeta never happened.
Yeah, the
I
Zeta
enjoyed
movies
like
do
2
pretty much
episodes.
retcon Double Zeta.
Well, actually, Tomino said that was not his intentions, and that's not what happened. But I'll still believe it the other way. Double Zeta's dead.
From what I've heard, the new translation movies are an absolute mess.
They were fine to me. I mean, they did have
think-
to cut like a lot of stuff down, but
I'm just gonna watch my way through the show, and then when I get to
Yes.
Double Zeta, I'll just watch it anyway and see if I can just watch it. I'll see if I could just enjoy it as like a weird anime show and not as an actual Gundam series.
you can't. I'll tell you what I had to do with Double Zeta is I think I watched about 3-4 episodes in, and I just I started getting so angry while I was watching it that I just said screw it. I went to like a wiki and I was reading episode summaries up until the Double Zeta showed up, and then I started watching. And I think I watched 2 episodes, and I read episode summaries for about 4 or 5 more, and then I watched the rest of the series.
I think I'm just gonna just watch it anyways. I'm gonna just burn through it.
Yeah, it was so terrible. Oh, I think that's the only Gundam anime I think I really regret watching.
So what shall we do next? Shall we move on to the Origins?
Yeah, unless
sure,
there's
yeah.
any other news to mention, I don't know of anything, but
I'm not really seeing anything because I just gave GG a quick peruse.
Yeah, same.
alrighty.
All right, second,
Uh-huh.
coming into the chat,
Okay.
that's a link to the image.
Okay.
I started wondering, I was like, did he send the beer image?
You might... Okay, hang on, because I'm not sure I can actually open something else without crashing the call.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering about earlier. I was like, oh, is he confident it won't die now, or?
No, I'm not. My intention was to, like, look at it once we're done recording.
Oh.
Not to watch it on... Not to, like, live react to it on air.
Look, and then it dies.
Yes. I don't even honestly remember what it was a picture of anymore.
Beer glass with the Hyakushiki on it.
Oh, right. I'm sure it looks cool. I can envision it right now.
And the fun thing I think about on those is the type of beer glass it is. Those are usually like 22 ounces, so it's a very big beer to be getting in the Gundam Cafe. You can then go use the robot startup toilet that they have.
Wait, what?
You've never heard of it?
No, I have not. What?
It's amazing. They I think there's like 1 men's room and 1 women's room, and like the women's room you didn't used to have this, but apparently it's been installed now. But you go in, it's just like a 1-person bathroom, and it's got like all these kind of colors around it, kind of inspired by like the original Gundam. And there's like a button on the wall that's you shut the door. There's a button on the wall that says start. And you press it or flip the switch or whatever, and all the lights turn out, and you hear this kind of like mobile suit engine sound starting up, and like little like neon lights and stuff start shining out of the toilet, and like the toilet seat like just starts slowly opening as the room lights up, and it's just like.
I need to find a video of that. That's amazing.
My little sister went to Japan last year, and I was like, you need to go use the bathroom in the Gundam Cafe, but sadly she never got to go to it. She saw the statue, and that was about it.
My jealousy of her has risen even more.
Same.
Oh yes, you go in, you start up a mobile suit, and you get ready to sit down.
Yep.
No, I originally, when I heard about it, one guy was telling his girlfriend, and she was like, what are you talking about? The girls' room was just a regular bathroom, but apparently they fixed that later on.
So, second, what if we started with you today for the Origins?
Sure. Which is probably fair enough, because I think I've probably gotten into the whole thing much more recently than you two have. Back when I was around 11 or 12, I was really into Transformers. And, of course, having discovered the internet right around that same time, I was hanging out on this sort of Transformer collector forum. And, they had, different, sometimes I had, sub-forums and threads for, other stuff that, the people there collected, and there was a Gundam thread there. It's funny, because before I get quite that far into it, I mentioned that the Windmill Gundam was, one of the first Gundams I saw. And that was because we were having a conversation, another thread about, the weirdest alt modes in the Transformers universe. And then somebody just posted a picture of the Hurricane Gundam. And I was like, that's hilarious. I didn't even know it was a Gundam at the time. I thought it was, an actual, like, legit Transformer design. And then, of course, years later, I figured out what it was. But anyway, so I went into so then this would have been around 2010, I think. And I remember, like, scrolling through and seeing the stuff, and this was around, well, I guess it was a little after 2010, because I remember seeing, like, some age stuff there, like the Jenna Waste and the Adele. And I remember thinking, okay, like, those are kind of cool. And then somebody actually posted the Master Grid Red frame with, like, the big sword and stuff. And I was like, okay, wow, that looks amazing. And I went on Amazon, and since the dollar-yen was complete crap at the time, it was like $65 or something. And I was like, I ain't getting that. So I, like, looked around some of the other stuff they had, and I think I'd, like, just searched, like, Gundam in the search window. And the first things that popped up were the old fighting action kits, like the old high grades, or I guess no grades from Wing Endless Waltz. And I looked through them, and being the person I was back then, still to this day, I really like anything with a Gatling gun on it. So, of course, I was immediately drawn to the heavy arms because there's 4 of them. And I was like,
Dan's old favorite.
Yes, I was looking through and I was like, wow, okay, that's a pretty awesome looking mech. And then I was looking at it, and I was like, Endless Waltz. Okay, like, because the Endless Waltz part looked so different from the rest of the Gundam
dancers?
Wing. Yes, like, the Endless Waltz part of the title looked so far removed from the Gundam Wing part, I didn't realize it was, like, a subtitle for the movie. And I thought it was, like, the name of, like, an action feature it had. So I was like, how would that even work? But then I scrolled down to the comments, and I liked the reviews and stuff for it, and I was like, okay, this thing looks like crap. Everyone's complaining about, you know, how you have to, like, paint it and stuff. I'm probably not going to get this. And I kind of ignored it for so I just kind of was like, okay. So about a year or so later, I think it actually was a year. Or, like, maybe it was even later that year. I'm not sure. It was in a pretty fast-paced period of my life, so it's kind of blurred together there. But later on that year, Hobby Link Japan was having some holiday sale of some kind, and they were, like, one of the sponsors for the forum. So, like, the forum, you know, whenever they're having a sale or something, they'll have, like, a post saying, hey, you know, our sponsor such and such has, you know, all this stuff on sale, and sometimes they'll include the non-Transformer stuff as well. So I was looking through, and I was like, okay. So one of the things they had on sale were the Gundam 00 HCM Pro figures, and they had all 4 of the first 4 Gundams. The Dynames and the Curios were clearanced down to like 150 yen each. And, of course, I saw the Curios, and, you know, it turned into a jet, so it's like, okay, that's cool. And then I saw the Dynames and it had a sniper rifle, so it's like, okay, that's cool too. So I bought them, and being that it was SAO shipping around the holidays, they didn't come till like January. In the meantime, I did a little more research, and I found out that apparently high grades were like the decent quality Gundam kits. So I went around there, so I just searched Gundam high grade again on Amazon, and one of the first things that came up that really caught my eye was the high grade 00 Riser. And I was like, okay, this looks pretty awesome. And I noticed, like, the words condenser type next to the title, and that really confused me for a long time because I searched on the internet, and I couldn't find anyone. And to this day, other than, like, my video I did on it way back then when I had, like, no idea what I was talking about, I think that's one of the few videos that actually, like, tries to, like, tell you actually what the difference is between the condenser and normal type are, because everyone else was like, oh, well, it's got condensers. I was like, what the fuck are condensers? Like, nobody actually explained that they were the shoulder thingies. And, of course, there's such a minute detail on a really complicated design that I didn't notice they were different. So it's like, I can't tell the difference between this and the GN Sword 3 version. Does this come with the GN Sword 3? I don't know. I was like, okay, screw it. I'm getting the condenser type. And I did. And, of course, I loved it because it's the 00 Gundam. It was a pretty awesome kit for the time and still is actually pretty decent to this day. I mean, it's got, you know, sticker V-fin and whatnot, but other than that, it's pretty awesome. And before we had, like, the All Gundam project and the Origin and stuff, it was actually a pretty awesome kit. And then, after I got the kit, of course, I was looking around these, and I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. I kind of want to check out the show for these now. Now, before this, like, I kind of knew what anime was, but I hadn't actually, like, watched any before. Like, I guess I saw, like, Transformers Energon and stuff when I was really young, but I didn't really associate in my head that that was an anime at the time. It was just, like, a cartoon, you know?
I think that was the case for a lot of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was, definitely. And then I watched Gundam 00, and I was like, okay, all right, this is pretty cool. And this was before Gundam Info. So someone had uploaded like the first 4 episodes, I think, and I didn't know how to like find stuff on the internet back then, so that was all I watched. So I just saw like those first 4 episodes, and I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. And I think I found the rest of it, but it was like subbed in Spanish or something, so I wasn't able to understand it. Yes, there was a Spanish subbed version of the whole show that didn't get like copyright taken down or whatever, but the English version was.
What's funny is you said how you started watching Double O at this time, and I knew Double O was your first Gundam, but I was going to say earlier when you mentioned seeing some age stuff, I was going to be like, that would be terrible to get you into a Gundam.
Yes.
It's not the worst Gundam series, but yeah. Terrible
starting point, yeah, definitely. And to this day, I've only seen like 1 episode of Age, and that's all I need to see.
I ended up watching most of Age at like 1.5 times speed.
I haven't gotten the hang of doing that just because, like, well, I guess you could watch it on, I guess you can use like the YouTube thing to speed it up, can't you?
I was doing a VLC player. I had just torrented the series.
Oh, right. Like I do that sometimes, but I use a Windows Media Player, so it doesn't have the speed thing. So I just sit through, or sometimes if it's really, really boring, I'll like just kind of skip through on the timeline or whatever. But no speed up for me.
Yeah, that's what I needed to make it through some of Double O.
Yeah.
I'd slow it down for the fights, but
it was very talky, I have to say.
Yeah, other than that, I was just kind of like, I'm ready to just get through this and on to the next series, because I had also just watched Double O before it. And then it's like, oh, here's the kiddie version where they've kind of downgraded the whole art style to make it just a whole lot more simplistic. Actually, I think I watched it before it.
Right, but then actually, before that, I think that kind of Gundam is more what got me into other anime. Because after that, like I think after that was around when Netflix started adding like a bunch of different anime and stuff to their service. So I watched like Sword Art Online and Full Metal Alchemist and Samurai Flamenco and I think a couple others I'm forgetting. And I still do sometimes. Like I think I watched One Punch Man recently, and I still kind of do that, but it's mostly just Gundam nowadays. And that's pretty much how I got into it. Oh yes, except for with the kits. After I just realized I kind of left the first part of that thread hanging. After I built the Double O Riser and realized I loved it, of course I bought the Reborn's Gundam, and not so good. Because it has like the black sticker, it had stickers everywhere, and the feet are terrible, and the hips are terrible, and the elbows are terrible, and the transformation's really stupid. And I still like the design, but I really hate that kit.
Hey, do you remember the story thing or whatever, I guess from one of the manuals about how the Reborns was supposed to have a third form originally?
You mean the tank?
Yes, and then
yes,
Rebens,
I've seen the line art
Rebens just said, this is dumb. Why am I doing this? It's not happening.
But yeah, and then after that happened, finally, 3 months later, the HCM Pros arrived, and to this day, they are still probably the worst action figures I've ever handled in my life. On the highest shelf of a bookcase in my room, piled with a bunch of empty boxes. Like, every joint on both of them was either so tight it feels like it's going to break when you move it, or so loose that, like, there's no friction there at all. I've never seen a worse action figure design in my life than those two.
Fantastic.
Yep. I mean, they were only like $1.50 each, so it's not that big a deal, but still.
I guess at least that wasn't your first Gundam figure then.
Yes. If it weren't for SAL shipping slowing down during the holidays, that would have been my first Gundam experience, and I probably wouldn't have done anything else with it.
First and last.
Yep.
Just like Age may have been your last, but man, this is for kids.
Yes. Yeah, I might have actually enjoyed Age if I watched it back then. I'm not really sure. And that's funny because I didn't really like make a mental note of the Masquerade Red Frame being like a kit that I continued to like look for, but like 3-4 years later, just so happened that my first Masquerade ever built was the Spray Red Frame, and
I could never fully get into the Red Frame. Like I remember I had watched through some of Seed, and then Dan was telling me about various Seed stuff later on. And I remember looking at the Astray Red Frame, and I was just like, why does this have a solid sword? That's dumb. Everything else is so powerful.
Awesome.
Yeah, but I was like, everything else has these amazing beam sabers, and this guy just has like a sharp stick.
Yeah, it's a katana, and it's awesome. Seriously, like I have to say, like that Masquerade Red Frame, wow, I mean, I think that's probably one of my least favorite master grades I've ever built, just because, first of all, like, like the sword's heavy and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
In addition to the sword being heavy, the shoulder joint is, I think what happened was when I built it, I'd never built a master grade, so I didn't realize the polycaps have those little flanges on the inside. I was like, wow, there's a lot of flashing on this thing. I think I shaved it off, so, the arms don't actually stay on anymore.
Oh, man.
Like, they'll hold on if he's holding his katanas, but they won't hold on for the tactical arms. And I just say, now that the real grade's out, and I've built the real grade, I've built the high grade, I've built the master grade, I think I could probably say that even if you ignore the arms, the master grade's probably my least favorite out of the three.
Huh.
Yeah,
it
it loses to the real grade. If the real grade was out when I was thinking of getting the master grade, I probably wouldn't have gotten the master grade. And my master grade shelf is maybe 2 feet wide and 6 inches deep. So I have all 4 kits there, and of course thanks to the Zeta having that massive flight deck thing, and yes, I do have it displayed on that, and it takes up 3/4 of the display. I have room for those 4 kits there, and when I grab the 001-100s, I can say for sure that the red frame Astray is probably the first one going into storage.
I was going to say you can put your least favorite model cowering in fear underneath the Zeta.
Yeah.
Since it's taking up so much space.
I was bored, so I kind of took some of the armor panels off of the build strike to give it a half repaired look, and I just kind of stuck it in the back of the repair bay.
That could be my most hated model I built was that F90L type no grade, and thing was just falling apart. It couldn't aim its gun. It couldn't stand and hold its gun in a way that would let it stand straight because the gun was stabbing into the ground.
Longer than the kit was.
Yeah, and it couldn't lift the gun up enough that it was capable of holding it off the ground. Just the way the arm connection was, it couldn't do it. And so it ended up being in pieces on the ground underneath the sand rock at some point. And now it's in pieces in a box.
So for you, it ranks even lower than the Tall Geese 3?
Tall Geese 3 at least stayed together.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Yes, it did.
It was incredibly stiff and was hard to move, but at least when I tried to move anything on it, it didn't fall to pieces.
Yeah, true.
And it was capable of holding any of its weapons without the weapon slamming the ground and making it unable to stand.
Yeah, true.
I guess it was also older than them.
And I still remember my first kit that I've talked about with both of you guys, and I know that I showed it to you, Max. It's that no grade 1144th EXS booster kit, which second I know you've got the legged version of.
Yes, I have the normal no grade of it.
I always forget about that EXS because it was before we even watched Gundam. You were just you're like Mecha.
Yeah.
That's how I was. I was just like, oh hey, cool robot, and then I got into the series later on.
Spoiler alert! It was back in Dan's Robotech days, I think.
Yeah, it was. That's actually.
I think he actually told me about that. Yeah.
I guess since I mentioned Dan's days, will we go into him next, or was there anything else you wanted to add second?
Not really. I guess after I built the Reborns, it wasn't like I just built tons and tons of Gunpla after that. I really only bought 3 other kits between that and the start of last year, I think, and that's when I really kind of took off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do remember, actually, I thought about this when you first mentioned it. I remember looking at your channel a while back, being like, man, he has a ton of Transformer videos. I can see what he was into before Gundam.
Yes, and I still have most of them. I think I sold maybe 60% of them, but I still have quite a lot of them, and they're just kind of jammed into a couple other shelves, and I'm just trying to find places to fit them, and they're part of why I don't have a lot of room to display my Gundams.
All right, so I guess on to me next. And
yeah, sure.
Even though I didn't know it was anime, I again started, just like you, second, with Transformers back in the 80s. So we're going old school Gen 1.
I did want to mention as well,
with
Transformers, it was an anime, but I kind of looked into it briefly, and it was kind of or at least what I think I was reading about, an American company wanted a Japanese company to make the anime to advertise for it or something.
Yeah, because they started.
So I guess it kind of was anime, but also American influenced.
Well, what it was somebody from Hasbro in 1993 or something went to Tokyo Toy Fair and saw the Diaclone toy line, and they were like, hey, this is cool, let's bring this to America. So they hired some Japanese animation studio to make a show around it, and that's kind of how that started. Okay. I mean, I could go into way more detail, but that's not the subject of this podcast, so. I could go into way more detail on it actually, but
Yeah, it just kind of popped into my head for, I guess, kind of why as well we didn't all realize it was anime, not only due to being young, but I guess, being pushed by an American company.
yeah. And actually, I have to say, Generation 1 Transformers, like Armada and Energon and Cybertron and RID were very, very anime-y, but Transformers looked pretty much like a Western cartoon from that time.
Definitely.
So one day I was in a video rental store, and I spot this picture on a tape for a series called Robotech, and it looked like...
You're like...
I'm like, what is this? This looks really cool, because the plane on there...
That looks like Jetfire.
No, I didn't even know about that. Are you familiar with that, though? I've got that figure.
Oh, cool. Because, I think they actually got sued by Harmony Gold because they literally just took a Robotech figure and put it in the Transformers line. Yep. And they actually, part of the suing agreement was that in order to put the character in the show, they had to, drastically change the design. So that's why there's this guy called Skyfire who kind of looks like Jetfire in the show, but Jetfire's not actually in the show.
Yeah.
It'd be great if the suing agreement was that it had to get destroyed really badly in the show.
And it's funny because there's even one scene in one episode where it actually uses the legs jet mode to land. They snuck that in anyways, and I just thought that was funny.
But I saw a plane that looked like an F-14 mixed with an F-15 mixed with an F-22, and I was like, I want to watch this. So I got my folks to rent me the tape, took it home, and it was the first 6 episodes of Robotech, and I was hooked. And then a few months later, I'm at a mall, and I find Robotech models by the old company Arii, A-R-I-I, and I just flipped. So I got one. It had the polycaps, but it was all done in one color, and it was glued together with polycaps.
Oh wow.
So I started building
glue or cement?
Cement together, even though the polycaps provided some motion. As a matter of fact, I think my very first Arii kit was a VF-1D in Guardian mode, the half-plane, half-robot.
Uh-huh. So did you build any models before these, or...?
I'd experimented with I'd watched my father build a P-47, an ME-109, so on and so forth, and then I just kind of... I started doing those and your typical glue and paint kits at the same time. Then one day, I see this really cool-looking mecha box, and it's that EXS booster. I don't even know what it is, so I just grab the thing. And that was the very first Gundam kit that I built.
So around when was this? This is mid-90s, late 90s?
This is mid-90s.
Okay. So was this before Wing started airing?
It was.
Yes.
Okay, so because I didn't know they actually brought over the kits before that.
Okay, so I'm trying to think of what I saw next. If I remember right, when I was actually only 7 or 8, I caught a brief glimpse of the Macross Do You Remember Love movie on TV. So, but let's see. I was really hooked into Robotech. I mean, really, really hooked. Wound up actually buying my favorite tape from one of those rental stores.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then I'm sitting in my grandparents' house watching Cartoon Network, and it's the first day of Gundam Wing airing. And as soon as I recognized the sound effects as being Robotech, I was hooked yet again. And when Wing made its transformation, Heavenly Choirs started to sing. It's because
it slammed into the ocean.
It's because of my...
It's funny because it's compared to the Macross stuff, it's barely even a transformation. It's shield on head and rotate waist.
But it's
I always thought those ones were hilarious.
I just say, if I went from Macross to Gundam and saw the Wing Gundam, I would have been so unimpressed with that.
Garbage.
Yep.
It's because of my love of Robotech that I am big into transforming mobile suits. But as soon as I realized what Gundam was and I got hooked, I started scouring the area for kits, and my very first Gundam kit ever that I knew was Gundam was the 1995 1:100 scale high-grade Epion that I bought from Toys R Us. And then as things went on, I just started getting into more mecha series and stayed away from Eva. I tried a little bit of Eva, and I just couldn't stand it.
It was all right.
To this day, I have to say, out of the traditionally popular anime series, I'd say that's probably one of my least favorite out of that whole bunch.
I think part of the thing with Ava as well, though, was like some of the stuff it did. It was kind of the kind of newish to anime at the time. Like I remember a thing where someone said they tried to watch it and they hated Shinji for being this, kind of quiet, staying away from everyone character. And then the point was made that that was actually one of the earlier series where that was like the main trait of the character, because before that it was usually like war, yeah, and they'd be all into the fighting and stuff. And he was one of the few like heroes that just wanted nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with the fight, yeah.
And I've just been focusing more on Gundam series ever since.
Mm.
First ever Master Grade was the original New Gundam, and I remember that thing scaring me when I unboxed it, but now I look at it as that's where the madness started.
Yep. Doesn't that have die-cast pieces in it?
5 of them.
I think one of the fun things, speaking of the New Gundam, is like that was like I've mentioned before, Death Scythe was one of my first favorite Gundams, and New Gundam was also one of my early favorite ones, and I really, really loved it. And I remember Dan was really jealous because I had bought like the only like 1/100th like high grade New Gundam from somewhere at one point, and he wanted it. Mm-hmm. And then he got the Master Grade, and I was just kind of
which is just way better than it.
Actually, they both have their draw.
We used to look at the Master Grades as it's just like, oh my god, type of thing, because like we were like, I heard that they have full inner frames, and it was super amazing to us back then. Now it's just kind of like that's how it is. Yeah. Now we've got IBO high grades having inner frames
having full inner frames for like 900 yen.
Yes. I guess that's it for you.
That's it for my origin story.
Alrighty. I mean, mine's kind of similar too. Like as far as anime goes, I don't really know which one I saw first, but I know both of them were when I was like super young. I saw the old '80s Transformers, and it came on at some like unwatchable time because it was like 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m. when you had to be at school at 8 a.m. Mm-hmm. Or I mean, it might have even been like 8. I remember it was just like it was almost impossible to watch, and I never set about taping it, but I loved it, and I always asked for like Transformers for Christmas and stuff. I still have a bunch of those back home in a box somewhere, or back at my mom's place. But I also saw around that same time Voltron, which I mean I didn't realize back then was an anime either, and I guess technically Voltron kind of is not fully an anime in the strictest of sense, because it was. I remember reading it was based off of some Japanese show or some anime, but they rewrote like everything in it. Yeah, Real Lion.
Go Lion. The thing was, it was like super, super violent and gory, so you had to like trim like 10 minutes per episode.
Got all the death out of it. Well,
yeah.
I think it said they also they rewrote like giant sections of story and changed characters, and just tons of things were taken out completely. And I think it said like even some new things were made for the American release. So.
I think I heard they did that with Robotech too, where they like just really cut it up compared to Macross.
Mm-hmm. They did.
And then they like spliced completely different shows in later on.
Yeah. And then like my next show, kind of like for growing up in the '90s though, was obviously like most of the others back then, I watched Dragon Ball Z, but I watched that for a few years, and I was on the internet one day and I started finding like here's their power level readings, and I was wondering where those were coming from, and I start reading about like what happens at the end of the Frieza saga and the Buu saga and the Cell saga, and at the time like the Frieza saga hadn't even like shown fully in America, and I was like, how do they know these things? And finally I was talking to someone about it one day. They were like, yeah, this was made in Japan like forever ago, and now they're just bringing it over here. But I started watching that again when it showed up on Cartoon Network, because it used to be on like YTV or something when it was made by that Canadian company Sunrise. And then Funimation took over after that, and suddenly, like, everybody I knew was watching it. I was like, oh, yeah, I remember watching that show, like, 4 years ago. So I started watching it on there.
You watched Dragon Ball Z before it was cool.
Yes. I was the emo of Dragon Ball Z before emos were cool. They've never been cool. They've never been cool.
We also started getting the T-shirts.
Yes. Oh, no. Oh. Thinking back on that now, it's kind of like I don't think I would want to wear a Dragon Ball T-shirt at this point. But I watched like some other things that were on Toonami and whatnot at the time. I don't know what all they were. Sailor Moon was on. I knew guys that liked that. I tried watching it. I was like, why do they like this show? This is for girls. And I only saw 2 episodes. And I never cared to look into it anymore. And I understand.
The worst part about it for me is that Usagi's just like dumb as a rock, and I just like couldn't get past that. It was like any show with that colossally idiotic of a main character, I just can't watch.
Yeah. Well, I think even at like a younger age as well, it's like, oh, they're all girls, so this is for girls, and oh, they're all guys, so this is for guys, was kind of the mindset as
Right.
well. Not to mention, like, they were, transforming into kind of like skirts and then using wands, and then in Dragon Ball Z, we got people like punching mountains and exploding planets. So I mean, as a little kid, which one's more awesome?
Dragon Ball Z for sure.
I don't even remember like what all I watched at that point. Like I watched through various things, and then Gundam Wing came on, and I don't remember if I just wanted to check it out or if it seemed awesome. I don't remember if Dan had shown me Robotech before or after Gundam Wing. I'm thinking after though. But I watched that, and I watched the midnight uncut release, which it was great to watch like the two different versions sometimes, because I remember like Hero getting all threatening to Catra, and he was like, "I will stop you." It's like, oh, terrifying. But I watched that and Bebop and all the other things, and Dan and I went to this model store. We were kind of like looking through all of them, and I'm trying to remember, like, I'm not entirely sure which my first one was. I know, like, a lot of my early ones, but I don't know which exactly the very first I got was. Like, of what I can, like, actually remember being super early was I bought a, like, pre-built Maxter. Yeah, pre-built Maxter where the guy had, like, already painted it and stuff at the hobby shop, and I thought it was kind of cool and kind of dumb at the same time. So I kind of found out about G Gundam through that, and
was that like the 1/144th or?
No, this was the 1/100th.
Yep.
Okay, so that's not too bad.
And then I bought the Master sometime after that, and then of course got the whatever 1/144th Tall Geese, the white thing, the white rock.
Oh, so that was only like your third or fourth Gundam kit.
Probably somewhere between like 3 and 6 or something, but like it was just it was so awful compared to the others. Like it's just, I mean, it was garbage
bad
to
both
me.
of us.
Like I think I'd built like a few of the other Gundam Wing ones before that, and they were still a lot better. But yeah, like I fell in love with Gundam Wing. Watched that, bought the VHS tapes, and somewhere in there, like I super loved it, and it's funny because like back then it was really hard to get a hold of some of these shows before they came out, because now you just go look for a streaming site or torrent or whatever. They used to have they called them fan sub distribution services, and it was generally just like one or two people. Yeah. And they had a bunch of VHS tapes. So like somebody would have a clean recording, and the fan sub people, they would make all the subtitles. They would hook up like two VCRs, play them together and record the result, and that was like called like A quality class or whatever was the result of that. Yeah. And I think that was called A plus. And then if you bought and got a copy of that, they would just I think usually they made a copy of that one and then like left it untouched until the next copy died. But it was just like you get a copy of a copy. So it's like how they kind of do.
It's like how they do like vinyl records and stuff, where they make like the masters and then they'd copy them off that and then distribute those and then the other ones and.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a copy of a copy of a copy.
Yeah.
But I think I got like Endless Waltz on VHS. This was I think it was the OVA that I got rather than the movie form of it.
It was.
And then I started collecting Gundam X. I got all of Gundam X, and like that's still one of my favorite series. And speaking of, for anyone listening, Gundam X's like first DVD out of 2 came out about a month ago, so you should go ahead and order that.
I think it is literally the most underrated Gundam series. Like, yes. I don't know if I'd say best, but it's definitely the most underrated.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree.
Yeah, it was really good. I bought the whole thing on my horrible VHS tapes, and I could just at this point download it and be like, well, I've already spent money once, but I went ahead and bought the official release, and I think the second one comes out soon, so I'll buy that one as well. I mean, you get like the whole series.
Coming out very soon. I think it's like coming out this month.
Yeah, and it's incredibly like well priced too, because I mean I guess this is a warning for anyone, like it's subtitled. You're not getting a dub, but
yeah, no.
But that's part of why it ends up being so cheap. I mean, I can't even remember what it was. It was like $30 for half the series.
It's like $35 for half the series.
Yeah.
And considering that anime DVDs get pretty crazy, that's really good.
Yep.
Like seriously, I heard that like the full version of like Gurren Lagann on Blu-ray is like several hundreds of dollars. I'm not even joking.
I think it's $350, or I might be thinking of one other one. But
it was actually. I almost couldn't believe it when I heard that.
I think it did like this really awesome like collector's box that's like gigantic and like sort of 3D-ish with it at least.
Yeah, but still. Like $300 for like a 24 episode series.
Guys,
That's
I've got
okay.
one worse for you.
The Blu-ray is, and the Japanese Blu-ray is twice as much.
What's worse?
Try the Japanese Blu-ray for 8th MS Team, 25,000 yen.
For like what, 12 episodes?
Yeah.
That's
and
not
they wonder
really...
why everyone
worse,
pirates
oh,
everything over
25,000, never
there.
mind. I was thinking
wonder why
2,500.
Yeah, that's not bad. They wonder why everyone pirates over there.
Yeah. Well, I would say speaking of like prices and all that, and also like old anime. Another one of the ones I watched like real early on, like once I knew what anime was I had actually purchased the Trigun DVD box set, which is like 26 episodes long, and
Okay.
I think the whole thing was either like $100 or $150 for 26 episodes.
That was on VHS?
No, this was DVD actually.
Okay. Because I'm like thinking, like, I looked on Amazon, you can get the whole series for like $25 now.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, this was back
And it's
when
streaming on Funimation site as well, so.
this was back when anime was still like really becoming the new big thing here and everything, and they
Right.
seem like they kind of for a while got away from the insane prices. I mean, they've kind of gone
Yep.
back, but
Oh, they've
like,
definitely gone back.
but,
And like
like-
Gundam's kind of like leading the way into like
Yeah.
not horribly priced DVD
Yeah.
sets.
yeah.
Like even
Well,
nowadays, like when I was looking around at Right Stuff and like some of the other stuff they brought over, I remember seeing some shows where it'd be like the first like 3 episodes of the show for like $60, and I was like, no way, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, the at least like today, like the prices kind of vary. Like there's some that are kind of cheap, and then there's some that are like insanely expensive. But like back then, everything was insane. Like I remember buying
Right.
like Ninja Scroll, or not Ninja Scroll, the sequel to Ninja Scroll, which was like Ninja Blood or something. And it's like, here, pay
Uh-huh.
$25 for this like 46-minute long VHS anime movie. I had a real fun order of watching Gundam because I say Gundam X is one of my favorite series. And I think I got like 2 tapes of G Gundam, and then I just kind of stopped ordering the fan subs after that for whatever reason. I didn't see
Right.
G Gundam.
So you like ordered those online, or
Yeah.
was it like a mail order thing?
Yeah, just go find like some fan sub distributor and usually send them like a mail order or whatever, and hope they're not thieves.
So this would have been
But-
like very early 2000s or late 90s.
Oh yeah, this was like right after Gundam Wing came over.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have been about 01, because I think
Yeah,
2000 is when Toonami started running Gundam Wing.
yeah, something like that. But what was it? I got G Gundam, like that's a fun series. It's not a favorite, but then I got Gundam X. Or no, but I got Gundam X before that, and that's one of my favorite. Then I got like a little bit of GX, and then the next thing I got was like one of those Hong Kong DVD sets of Zeta Gundam.
Right.
So I mean, Gundam X, one of my favorites. Zeta Gundam would be definitely one of my favorites. Like for a long time, Zeta would be number 1. I'm not entirely sure now. It might be like 1 or 2. It's probably going to change like as the day goes on.
I've only seen like 6 episodes, but I'd still say it's one of my favorites that I've seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really good. And I've basically watched through almost all of the Gundam at this point, because like at some point it was my goal. That was my goal about 13 years or so ago when Seed was first coming out. I was like, all right, I'm gonna download each episode of Seed as it comes out each week, and I'm also gonna go back and rewatch all the series. But shortly into that, I got like super busy and just kind of, I think torrent sites started dropping like flies, and I couldn't find places to get Seed. It finally got translated and dubbed and brought over, and I just, by the time it was on TV here, I was like, well, I'm just going to do other things now, and I kind of fell away from Gundam for about 10 years or so at that point. And then around when Dan started up his channel, I started like kind of looking into it again and whatnot, and I think Iron-Blooded Orphans had just been announced not too terribly long after that. Or no, wait, Iron-Blooded Orphans I think was like a year after I kind of started getting back in, and so I rewatched like the last half of Zeta, and I did double Zeta, and I think there was like 2 episodes I liked in that series.
I'm still watching it.
And then I think I rewatched Char's Counterattack. I rewatched Gundam F91. I rewatched 08th MS Team. I mean, I saw like all the other ones like when they got brought over on the Cartoon Network too, like 0080, 83, 79.
Right.
But like this
I
is when I
from what I've
rewatched through
understood,
them.
like I never watched like Toonami back then, but from what I've understood, they brought over like all 3 of the OVAs in like very short succession of each other.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, that's what I thought.
I remember when 0079 came out though, like it was around when like 9/11 happened, and they literally like
Yep.
took it off one day and they just didn't show an episode on TV because they said it would be too traumatic to show like after the that had happened at the time.
Yep. And that's more or less what killed Gundam over here.
Um,
That and G Gundam clogging up the pegs because like they made figures of like the later stuff and like so we had like Mermaid Gundams and Jester Gundams clogging up the pegs because literally nobody wanted them and that just
yeah,
made the retailers not want to order more of them and Gundam died.
yeah. Like I would really hope it would get revived now, but
It
I hope
might.
it doesn't
They're
stay kind of like
trying.
sluggish. Yes.
Like
I like that they're
IBO's
trying
on
to.
Toonami. It's on Toonami. It's
Yeah.
on Crunchyroll.
And then the whole DVD thing, what was it? They said like a year ago they're going to make sure they get a DVD release of every single series over here. I mean, granted,
And they are.
they're going to be
Like,
subtitled.
They just announced actually that I think they've got in the works 0083 Blu-rays, 0083 DVDs, and then they're reissuing the DVDs for like 0080 and I want to say 8th MS. They're basically and F91. They're like going through and they're like basically doing everything they can, and that's kind of awesome.
Reprint 00 Gundam.
I'm
Oh.
sure that's probably low on their list since that's a pretty recent one, but yeah, that one is really expensive to get a hold of.
Yeah, I see.
Double 83 is the
They
one I
should.
want.
That's why they should do it though, because like I so badly want to officially buy 00 Gundam. Like I would do it. Like if I want to rewatch it again, I'm just going to have to download it again. But if it was buyable, I would buy it. But it's like, hey, you want to own all of 00 Gundam? Here you can buy it like from some guy who's owned it for 4 years for $400.
Exactly, and like I remember back when I looked into it, you could get the first season cheap, and then you can get the first 3 volumes of season 1 you could get for like $50 at the time, and then season 2 you could get the first volume for like $4, and then the second and third for like 20, and then like the fourth for like 90.
I remember getting really excited because I thought I found season 1 for like $30-$40, and then it just turned out it was like here's like one disc.
Oh yeah.
I would definitely buy 00 as soon as possible, and just out of it always being having been a favorite, I'd go ahead and buy F91 as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also here's just a movie. It's not like collecting a full series. Really easy watch.
I'm just waiting for 0083 to get re-released as in sub and dub because I actually really like the dub of Stardust.
I do want to rewatch
I can't
that.
remember if it's coming out later this year or early next year, but it is one. It is. I think it's the next Blu-ray set they have lined up. So it is coming pretty soon.
So everyone look forward to it and buy it. Do it.
Yes. Support Gundam.
Yes. I do like 0083 is another one I do really want to rewatch, but I'm gonna wait till I finish my whole catch up on every single Gundam thing there is. Like I just finished watching the last 2 episodes of Try yesterday, and I told Dan after I watched it, like I was just like kind of laughing through like the final fight of the tournament because it just started getting like ridiculous and no wait, I think it was the final fight
that happened.
Yeah. I was just like, what is? Oh, this is so terrible. This is stupid. I think Build Fighters is hilarious for all the weirdness.
Honestly, I think
so.
Build
So now I
Fighters
get to
1
have the
did it
joy
better,
of.
but...
We'll see how Rekko goes.
Yes.
That's
Oh,
all
by the
I
way,
have left.
the Montero has a toilet in it, like under the seat. Like they show it in one episode, and then that's it. Like the seat folds up, and there's a toilet under it for when the pilot's on long missions or whatever. And it's not as cool as the Gundam Front Tokyo toilet, but it's there.
That's for the Gundam Cafe. Private Gundam
Yeah.
Cafe.
Like it was like a 4-second scene, and I was just sitting there. I was like, as someone who's always studied video editing, I just have to sit and wonder, why did they even put that scene in the final cut? Like,
Yeah, though I got G Rekko, and then I'll be all caught up on all Gundam. Someday
have you seen G Savior?
Yes, I own the DVD of it.
Oh, you do? Okay, good.
I think I watched it. No, I think I watched it 2 times. That's a lie. I watched it 1 time and then I skipped through. I was like, were there really that few short, crappy mobile suit scenes? Yep.
Have you seen Ring of Gundam?
I've not seen that actually.
Okay.
I remember they released like little CGI animated short things on the internet, and I kind of tried to watch through those, but some of them are like really awful, and
I think those are the Evolves.
And
Yeah,
it was
Gundam Evolve. And then there's
just
Igloo,
I
and
just didn't
there's
really
Ring
like
of
Evolve.
Gundam,
And there's SD.
Okay,
and
yeah,
SD. Yes,
I've not
SD
watched
Gundam
any of
Battle
the
Force.
I've not watched any of the shorts. Like I'm not gonna watch the SD.
No, I'm not talking about the SD that we got here in the States. I'm talking
Yeah,
a
no, I
really...
just mean any of the little shorts. I'm probably not gonna bother with those.
Okay.
I mean, I watched the Seed whatever thing it was with why can't I remember the name of it? My mind is blanking completely. Strike Noir was in it.
Stargazer.
Stargazer, yes. Because I watched that and I can't find any copy of it where the last like 6 minutes of the video actually work, but it's more or less a completely pointless thing.
So, have you seen? This isn't like an actual show they made, but there's like the pilot footage is like floating around on the internet. Have you ever heard of Doozy Bots?
I don't think so.
Well, it was judging by the animation quality, I think it was like a late '80s attempt at like making a localized SD Gundam series. And they like made like a completely new show for it, where like this scientist found a way to like turn these like 4 kids into Doozy Bots, which are basically like SD versions of like the Gundam and the gun tank and the gun cannon. Oh, and the gun tank was the kid in a wheelchair in his normal form.
Oh God.
Yeah, that was like the funniest part of the whole thing.
That makes me think of that stupid Ghostbusters Extreme, where it's like, here's the alt chick, here's the black guy, here's like a Hispanic, and here's the kid in the wheelchair.
It was a lot like, it looked a lot like the old Ghostbusters cartoon. It was like that level of quality, and it was like just, it was hilarious. And like if you just search like the pilot test footage, it's like out on YouTube, and if you search Doozy Bot, I think it's like DOOZY, you'll probably find it. It's definitely worth a watch just for the laughs.
Doozy Bots. Write that down. I'll just like toss a picture in the video.
You can use it as you can use it as the thumbnail. That's gonna be the thumbnail.
What is Doozy Bots. Yep. Just quick Google. There it is. Wow. It's really. I think it's also just the quality of the images. I was gonna say it looks worse than Ghostbusters, but that's probably just because it's more of.
It's a VHS recording of like what was probably like it's probably a tape someone found in like a dumpster outside the studio or something.
I was gonna say it looks like a VHS recording of a VHS recording.
Yeah, it probably is.
But I guess that about gets where I've done kind of Dragon Ball Z and the early Cartoon Network thing.
It definitely fits in with that era,
Mm-hmm. And then all the Gundams.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I think the gym had a skateboard or something. I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen that.
Oh boy.
I'm pretty sure one of them had a skateboard.
So I guess just get onto the builds, or you guys want to go into? Actually, there's like 2 kind of questions I guess I saw that I was gonna try to bring up.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I looked at the comments. Or actually, no, this one wasn't a question, but on the episode 3, Ezekiel said he said G-Reco is like Turna. There will be divide. Those who and speaking of Turna, of course I was watching through everything in order, so I kind of watched Turna after I think after I did 08 MS Team, because I'd seen like 2 episodes of it and that was it. I was just at that point going in like order of release date. But he says there will be a divide, those who like it and those who loathe it, and like it after second watch. And it says main character's more interesting, blah, blah, blah. I was going to say, though, I've not really seen many people at all liking G-Reco. Like, I've seen, like, uncontrollable hatred and loathing. I remember,
there is a very,
the day that G-Reco ended, Dan showed me some video of a guy that was just, like, ranting and screaming about the final episode for, like, 20 minutes.
It was Prime.
I don't think I've ever seen that about Turna.
There is a very loud minority that likes it.
All I know of it was like Turna was okay, but it was the kind of series where like it had a lot of really weird stuff, and it kind of took so long to get into anything. Like it never actually went into war; it just kind of teased it and played around the politics of
right.
No, this this was someone else's fault, or no, let us fix this, and they were kind of toying with each other the whole way. So that was kind of interesting, but ultimately, because like that was all the intrigue of it, it's kind of hard to rewatch again. But I was gonna say like
right.
I remember just looking up something for Victory Gundam, and I found some thread on some Gundam forum, and some guy was talking about this episode of Victory that he hated, and I just kind of scrolled down, and I found people, trashing like this or that, and they were saying how like Turno was great and like one of the best Gundam series and blah blah blah. I've also not seen that for G-Reco.
I have seen it, but from like 3 people. That will go into every thread bashing and insist that it's the greatest thing ever, and those are the only 3 people I've seen defending it.
I don't know. I also say that Ezekiel mentioned that Savior had like an old 140. God, not 140. What am I saying? I'm looking at it and reading the wrong numbers. As the old 1/100th.
Yeah, it did.
Dan actually has one of those.
I have both of them.
Oh, both. Never mind.
I have there's the Savior and the Vent Savior.
Oh yes, that one. That one looks so cool. Like they're starting to like reprint stuff. Like this year, like did the 001-100s. They did some of the Seed 1/100s.
I think they're reprinting them in September.
I want to see them reprint the Seed Destiny versus Stray kits because those look super cool.
That'd be interesting. I'd actually considered. Actually, speaking of versus, I'd love them to like remake the Archer Arios kit just because of getting both of them. But I guess since I kind of already have an Arios, maybe I would just like to get the Archer just out of having like an interesting buddy for it. I mean, I'm probably not going to bother transforming mine a ton, so I don't have a great time to put them together. But I was going to say, like, just because Dan's, I remember him saying he was just kind of okay on the Savior, then he built the model of it and fell in love with it. And I've never, like, quite got it being his favorite suit, so I've just been constantly thinking, like, maybe I'll buy that. So when they reprint that, I might, go ahead and try out the G-Savior.
The G-Savior or the normal Savior?
I'm sorry, the Savior.
Okay.
I wish, like, somebody could see my face when I said that. Like, I realized it the moment I said it, my mouth just kind of hung open. I had a blank stare at the screen. I think the G-Savior's terrible looking too, so take that. Actually, the other weird thing is like G-Savior's supposed to be like 1,000 years after like everything that was in the UC universe at that point.
Yeah.
And like you see it go out there and it's just kind of like, here's this thing that has a small rifle and nothing else. And like the only other mobile suit was also garbage and terrible.
Could be like kind of lost technology, kind of like with IDO.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they do kind of have that going as well with Turna Gundam, and it looks like G-Reco kind of is at a point where things went away and came back again too. Like, of course, Turna kind of comes before that. I was going to say it wrong.
If G-Reco comes after Turn A, then that would make sense because they're like just getting back technologically to the point where like the early UC started to take off. And yes, I realize I'm defending G-Savior, but still.
What was it? I think there was like another comment in here. Oh, it was Anthony Colazzo also said, like, why don't you guys do a report on your most liked and disliked Gundam anime? And
we could do that.
Actually, I was gonna say because like I actually like was kind of thinking one day about future topics, and I did have one where I was thinking like we could do something focusing on ones we liked the most / wanted more attention for, and etc. I mean, nobody's going to have trouble guessing my most disliked Gundam because that's just double Zeta. Garbage.
For me, G.
I thought you liked G.
Mm-mm.
Huh. I just remember you like rewatched it a time or two as well.
Just to, have something to watch with the ex-wife.
I just had always assumed you did like that, but I guess I'm thinking like I had a roommate briefly that liked it, and he rewatched like the whole thing, and I remember like listening to it, and I couldn't tell what it was. I was like, what the heck is he watching? I do want to say, actually, speaking of G Gundam real quick, I wanted to mention this earlier. Like I thought about it when I was thinking about my series watching. I love when I watched the G Gundam initially because I just had the fan subs, and so when we get to meet we meet Chibbity Crockett and his boxing football player Gundam. I just remember like one of his first lines. He gets out and he takes this microphone. And he goes, "Just a moment." And he had some other weird like English statement he said, and it just for some reason was hilarious to me.
Oh, of course, it's always funny. Like I remember seeing this one other anime where someone just in the middle thing just says, "I am speaking English," and then like goes back into normal Japanese.
That actually makes me think of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yes, that show has some glorious English in it.
Well, it's like the writer of it. He named villains and eventually stands after like whatever rock group and stuff he was listening to at the time, and they
Right?
can't put that in the English version. And
Hmm.
so like you'll hear like a guy be like Red Hot Chili Peppers, and then it just says like something else on the screen. Like there's one guy his stand was called Bad Company. He's wearing a shirt that says like Bad Co on it, and he says like miserable business or something is the name that they gave for it.
Because they can't get the copyright to use those in the U.S.
Yes. Oh, we just want to use like 200 band names. Is that okay?
Yes. It'll only be like, what, 3 million in licensing?
What were you going to say is, I guess you were going to say something about a most disliked, or...
I was going to say that I watched the first maybe 7 or 8 episodes of G Gundam while I was building the Master Grade Build Strike, like kind of in the background, and that was still too much for me. Like, I couldn't watch the rest.
Like, I think even Dan, like, I think you watched all of it on Toonami, and I missed, like, a lot of episodes, and I never really went back to rewatch them.
I didn't get to see all of it on Toonami. I did get to see all of it via DVD, though.
Okay. I was thinking, like, initially I'd seen all of it, because I remember you talking about it. I was like, oh, no, I missed the last 3 episodes. I'll try to watch it this time. It was enjoyable, fun little thing, I guess, for a bit, but not something I really wanted to stay with. I'd prefer watching it over Double Zeta, though, and probably Age, because I'm going to laugh at G Gundam more. This hand of mine burning red. I also, at the end of Try, rolled my eyes really hard, because at what I guess was the reveal of the master of Jigon Hao School.
Well, where he makes like his own God Gundam style thing?
No, where his master is revealed to be Domon.
Oh, yeah, right.
I just saw that, I was like, oh, God. I guess it's fitting.
I mean, it's almost disappointing, though, like, you see him and it's like, oh, he looks kind of like Domon, but, like, to make him actually be Domon like that was kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
Like, it felt so cheap of a reveal, you know?
Yeah, they had random people showing up at other times before now. I mean, we had Raoul as well, but like
Yes,
it's just kind of like here's the master. You see like 1 second of his face and like immediately turns black.
Yep, and like
It's like what you see at the end of a horror movie.
There's an episode in the first one where they're like at the festival or whatever, and there's like 300 different Gundam character cameos. Like you see like Domon and like Kyoji at one point, and then you see like Al and Chris and Bernie from War in the Pocket, and you see like I think you see the kid from Victory Gundam and his parents, and then you see like a bunch of other characters like all in this one big montage of like people having fun at the thing.
Yep, ultimate fan service episode.
Yep.
I think that was the first one I saw because Dan was just like, hey, check this out. And I watched it. I was like, oh, okay. I still kind of have that reaction. Like, it's interesting to see the things and all, and it's, it's a mildly amusing anime, but, like, ultimately I watch it, I'm like, I want to have regular Gundam. I want to have a really good regular Gundam.
I like it a lot. I'd say it's still probably one of my favorites.
Yeah, it was good. I just kind of, like, as I watch it, I just keep thinking, like, I want some regular Gundam. Because, like, it's like, okay, at the same time as, like, Try, like, here's Age.
Yep.
I guess at least we have IBO now. Oh, speaking of build fighters and everything, I guess left out of the news segment, they kind of showed some stuff about the next build fighters anime, which looks kind of like it would just be like it was like a poster.
Yeah, but like, was there anything new? It looked like those were just screenshots from Try.
Well, me and Dan were kind of assuming that they're just going to basically do a season 2 for Try.
I saw like they were literally screenshots from Try. I saw the same character model line art from Try. Like, it didn't really look all that different or anything new there. I mean, I couldn't read it, so I don't know if they like said something new. But for the most part, it didn't seem like anything new. I mean, we knew there was a Build Fighters Try OVA coming in August, and honestly, there hasn't been much new information about it other than that.
Yeah, but just from some like other things, Dan was kind of saying maybe what's coming is actually like a season 2 for Try as well. Because, I mean, the ending of Try is basically like, oh, guys, we're at the World Tournament. We're at our grand stage now. And they kind of do the little fist thing. Yeah. And at the same time as I watch that and I think about, having watched the previous World Tournament and seeing how strong they are, it's like, okay, cool. So they're just going to bulldoze everyone until, like, the final 2 fights, right?
Yeah.
Which actually, I was thinking in like the second last episode, like with everyone being like basically magic by the ending, it was kind of weird that the lightning full burning was just kind of like you'd see it as something you'd think you would see in like Zeta or Double Zeta.
Yeah, and like
It had no magic.
yes, no magic. And the thing I liked way more about Build Fighters and Build Fighters Try is that, like in Build Fighters Try, everyone has like the same sort of mystical kung fu, Super Dragon Ball Z, Kamehameha attacks. Well, in Build Fighters, like they were all powerful, but like each one had a different strategy. So like the Gym Sniper K9 did the thing where like put the bombs in the joints, and the Camper Amazing just had a bunch of guns, and like the Sengoku Stray had like the crazy kung fu powers, but that was like a special thing, and like only it did that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like the fights were way more memorable because each one was a different battle, and each enemy they had to overcome in a different way, instead of just, okay, I'm gonna make a bigger fireball with my fist.
Yes, the transient fires its Gallic gun, and the Tri-Burning fires its Kamehameha.
And then one of those blasts turns into a dragon, the other turns into a phoenix. They clash in the middle and explode.
Yes. When the transient Gundams like transformed, I think that was one of the moments where I just busted out laughing. I just shouted like, "Why is his doing it too?"
he like, okay, at least with the guy with the Nile Gundam, like he trained in the same system or whatever, so it makes sense for him to have that ability. But like the other guy, transient guy, never did that. Ever.
Yeah,
and it's like, how?
He just was regular controls as far as we knew.
Unless he just somehow managed to like learn it from like watching Sekai do it, but
yeah. Even then though, like Sekai had tons and tons of training and stuff to actually fight, so he should have better reflexes and better focus and better like kind of ability to just like observe what was going on around him.
Power Plavsky particle magic.
I always did like that. It's like they're just doing magic with their models now.
Like, could you
How
put
is this
like
legal?
like a stock ball into the thing and just say, oh, it has Plavsky particle magic powers, and just wreck everyone in the tournament with it?
Yeah, like it just all the time I kind of watched and I felt like, is this hacking? Why is this legal? I mean, like when realistically thinking, because otherwise it's like, oh, it's an anime. But it's just like when you try to think about it in real life, it would just be like red flag flying out the field. Like, no, what did you do? How did you hack our system? And press criminal charges against you now.
Yep.
Which actually was the other thing I kind of complained about / found hilarious about Build Fighters. It's like, oh, we're gonna hire this guy to get rid of these people, and instead of him just like killing these children or whatever, kidnapping them, he's going to sneak into the tournament and try to secretly attack them with his Gunpla.
Was that in Build Fighters or Try?
It was in Build Fighters.
Okay,
When they
yeah.
hired that like mafia guy that like just yanked the star like into the water, and they're just like, where did he go? Oh well. It's like, how does this not
I remember that.
How does this not seem like something bad happened? Like no one's in front of him and he just vanishes. You're just gonna assume like something strange happened. It's all okay. And the fact that there's no like admin seeing what's going on or whatever is also kind of funny.
Yeah.
For the world championship.
Hang on. There's another flyback.
No.
He was on the red frame. He was like crawling along his beam saber, just glaring at me defiantly.
He too was trying to discover Gundam.
Yes, it almost crawled into the cockpit, but it didn't quite. It literally almost crawled into the cockpit. I'm not even joking.
Much like Sekai used martial arts to fly, we use whatever flies do to fly.
Yes.
That. Sword comes flying at you to get revenge for swatting the others.
Yes. I don't think this is one of the indestructible ones, so this is one of the fast ones.
Oh, good. All right, well, I guess we've babbled on about stuff for a while, so back to the usual closer.
Yeah,
or I guess really, like we did kind of, address some comments. I did kind of say like, what's the worst series, but as for like, favorites or whatever, or we want more attention. That was kind of a future one, so we'll be able to kind of go into it more.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for that. Otherwise, just comment below, question, suggestion, etc.
Yep. I haven't actually built anything since then, although I do know Dan has built something quite big since the last video.
Yes. Well, that's also something else. But also, I figure, like you, I thought you still had something coming, so it'd be like, well, this is what's coming, might be the most, or if you had any other thoughts on like an old one,
Yeah, I do.
if there's anything you want to mention, yeah.
I got the I still have the Rebawu coming, and I only real build thing I've done is I did attempt to practice seam welding on one of the extra heads for the tall geese.
Hmm.
How did the practice turn out?
I mean, I'm glad it was the tall geese.
Yeah, I was gonna say that didn't sound too victorious the way you presented it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I didn't like when I was like standing and stuff. I didn't realize the cement would turn all of the plastic around the area into kind of like a soap-like consistency.
Yes.
I didn't expect that. I thought it would be hard except for around the edge. So I cut into it and it like made like these big chunks that it took off, and I could like almost scrape it with my fingernail. And I was like, I kind of salvaged it, but it still looks horrible. But on the other hand, Tall Geese 3, so whatever.
Yeah, plastic cement is like just kind of get this one thing done and then don't touch it for a while.
Yes, I know that now. So next time I have to fix something, which I probably will, because I actually broke the backpack connector for the Master Grade Build Strike a while back, so I'll probably glue that soon.
Actually, like one quick aside, speaking of gluing things and all, I forgot to mention earlier, Dan showed me Robotech early on, and I kind of watched like some Macross later on. I was kind of all right with that. Robotech was a bit hard for me to get into just because like at that point it was too old looking. But he and I we would get like a few kits or whatever and build them. And another one of the super early ones I built was just some Robotech one. I don't remember what it was. I had 2 cannons instead of arms. It was 2 dual cannons.
I can't remember the name for it, but the Mech Warrior name for it is the Rifleman.
Yeah, and I painted like a small amount of it, like it was a black kit, and I made it kind of like black with crimson and like silver for events and stuff, and I only got like half of it done, and I accidentally like cemented the cannons into place. Yep.
But actually I did another little kind of emergency repair because on the real grade red frame, I was moving the hips on it because I was like reposing and stuff. I was like, wow, these are really tight, and they were like squeaking really loud, and then they just completely seized up, like completely. So I took some shock oil, and I kind of like put a little on the tip of a pin, and I like worked in the joints there, and I eventually got it to the point where now I don't really want to add more oil because they're like still strong enough to hold them up, but they feel still kind of looser than they really should be because I oiled them up. But they're still squeaking. Like it's because that's the problem with like those harder plastics like the ABS and the PVC and whatnot, is that they will fuse together over time and like stick to themselves. Like the reason, like I have to say, if you collect any kind of like high-end kind of action figure stuff, there is no better investment you can make than a like tube of just like that kind of shock oil that you'd use for like RC cars or something. Because I have used that so many times on so many different figures, and it is just a lifesaver.
I've never noticed that, but if I go grab an old one out of a box, I'll keep it in mind.
It happens a lot with the figures like the SH Figure Arts and the Figmas and stuff where they have like really high joint tolerances because they tend to go on like the tighter side. So if you leave it in one pose, it'll like kind of fuse to itself, and that's a big problem some of them have.
Right.
Good heads up. Thank you.
I think I'll jump in and let Dan go last. Second pro tip. Yes, and that's what closed our last episode out. That's enough of those. But I was gonna say I'll jump ahead of Dan just because like I guess his counts as like he had a really big one and he's got I guess announcement for the channel in a sense. Last time that I was on here, I think I said I was starting the Astaroth. That's all done now. I think the kit, like ultimately, I mean, it is really, really similar to the Barbatos. And again, I know you guys aren't big fans of it. I know when I built it, like before I put any attachments on, it's like this thing looks really tiny actually. But it has like similar movement to the the old high grade the high grade Barbatos. I think the
Barbatos, the old one that came out 8 months ago.
Yes, it's ancient now. I think
because funny because Gundam stuff does kind of move at like smartphone technology rate with
to be fair, we've had
from like 4 years ago being old.
So to be fair, we've had like 30 IBO kits since then.
Not 30, it's more like 18 or so, but still, yeah.
Oh no, I'm thinking like if you count like all of the high grades, all of the 1/100ths, the whatever the metal one was.
high
Maybe still
resolution
not 30,
model.
but yeah, high res. The
Yeah,
really good
like
amount.
28, 29, something. Yeah,
Yeah.
probably
Close enough
around
for
that.
jazz.
Yeah. I do want to say, like, it doesn't have many stickers on it, and almost all the stickers it has, they make sense. Um, like, I'm trying to look at it. Remember, there's like two little tiny yellow ones on the cockpit. I mean, they're smaller than like if you put Vulcans on something. So those are completely understandable. Like, I could see a lot of the times I could see a kit just not even bothering the color of those at all. Um, it's got two on the front of the foot, which makes sense because I mean it's just like literally just the front side of the foot, nothing else. It's not like a three-dimensional thing. There's like one where on the top of the foot where I wish it was just kind of a piece, and I can kind of understand, them not doing it, but I still wish it was a piece. And that, I mean, that's pretty much it. But like my complaints about it is the Barbatos. It can hold two weapons on its back. It can then hold, two weapons in its hands. You can attach, two different things to its arms. The Astaroth, just with what you get with the kit, you get the giant demolition, quote, knife. You get the regular little, combat knife thing, which actually, like it looks like the little model that they have it is really cool. It has like the little grooves in it and stuff like you would have on a diver's knife. Like for a little tiny high grade knife, it's got a lot of detail to it. And then it's got its rifle. And the only way you're going to get it to hold every single thing that it has is if you put the small knife in one hand, the rifle in the other, and wear the demolition knife on the back. Because nothing else can attach to the thing on the back. There's nowhere to put the knife. I know from reading.
You could put the knife in the other hand.
Well, I mean, you're going to have to, one of the three is going to have to just basically sit on the floor.
Okay, I get it. Yeah.
Which I kind of feel sad about this, but I understand this isn't this isn't a real grade. This isn't a master grade. You actually see in the manga, like he stores the knife in the booster armor jet things on the side.
Right.
I wish that it had something like that on the high grade, because I really don't like when I have to just put weapons of a kit somewhere, but I'm not keeping the demolition knife on the back of it at all.
Yeah, that's like the coolest weapon it has.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean it's got pretty good balance. It's really good articulation. As far as like just like the Barbatos had as well. I'm not sure if it's as stable as the Barbatos, because I've literally had the Barbatos posed on my desk before, and my roommate's Great Dane, which is 200 pounds, has like ran into the desk, and the Barbatos just kind of stood there like, what? But I mean, I overall enjoyed it. So anyone that likes the way it looks, I'd say get it. If you don't like the way it looks, it's not amazing enough to get, just for the build.
I think it's grown on me a little bit, having seen in-hand pictures, but not a whole lot.
Yeah. But other than that,
the origin.
Yes, I'm gonna get that too. Which I kind of at the same time I look at it like this is really similar. It's gonna be really weird to build it not too long after the original, but I love the origin as well. So.
Well, you could hold off a bit just because of that backlog that you've got.
Yep, there is that. Which, speaking of, my current project is one of my oldest ones in my backlog right now. Dan has this one up on his channel. It's the Master Grade Gundam X. I've got the torso and the head done now. Everything's going fine on that so far. I feverishly slave away at staring at the nub marks as close as I can, trying to get rid of them. I'm proud that I can get some of them almost invisible on models, but it just takes a long time.
So do you use a knife or sandpaper?
I have clippers. I will make 2 or 3 separate clips when removing it from the tree. I have a knife that I will shave down with, and I also have some files that I'll use for certain places as well.
Okay.
Like, Dan, if you remember, sometimes I've been doing it a lot more now because like I can't stand them being there, which makes all my builds take really long. Which, Dan, if you remember building the Akatsuki, you were talking about having some a few of the spots were kind of bad with the plating that it had.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's only like one of them on mine that got messed up, and it was like messed up in the box.
Like it got pushed off the runner in the packaging, or.
Well, you say you don't like me, but I probably spent 5 times the amount of time on mine that you did. Like removing them from the tree for me, if I get super anal, is like a 5 or 6 step process. So I'm happy with that. And I was going to mention whenever I finish the not the F91, I'd like to build multiple hosts. Yes, but when I finish the X,
hey, you could have a a after image display.
The white
just
one,
like 20 of them.
the blue one, then I can just make a bunch of gold ones, and
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, speaking of your second Gunpla, my next one is probably gonna be the next oldest in my backlog, the Reborn's Gundam.
Have fun with that.
We will see. All right, I guess it's Dan's turn.
Mm-hmm.
Big fat red mobile suits.
Yep, Sazabi is complete. The review is up. It's gotten a decent amount of views so far, and it's one of my longer videos. At just a bit over 20 minutes. I've got 70 views on it, and that thing was a beast. One thing I didn't tell either of you guys, but I told somebody in the comments. I had a classmate when I was going for the...
Oh, yeah.
He built that entire suit in a single sitting. He said it took him like 9 hours, and he built
like the old Master Grade?
No,
old Master Grade?
No, the
That's
Verka.
one. Oh, I think you told me that. I think you told me about that. I remember you saying that, yeah.
Just stared at it all day sweating.
But what I'm building right now is the winner of my first Viewer's Choice poll, the 1/100 scale overflag, and I am quite enamored with it so far. The unboxing video just went up about 12 hours ago, so...
I was about to say Friday, so it is Friday.
Yeah, for another half an hour.
Yeah.
Travel time.
But that's what I'm working on. And I really hope that if you guys liked this podcast, you'll leave us a thumbs up, you'll leave us comments, you'll subscribe to us.
Boom.
And I just hope you guys have yourselves a good night. Me, I'm going to have to go ahead and get off here in a moment just because I've got work in the morning and I got to get to sleep.
Boo work.
Like everything went silent.
I didn't know if that was Dan's thing of signing out or just being like, hey, I'm getting ready to sign out.
I didn't know either. I was waiting for him to continue and be like, this is Dan the Plastic Man, see you later. Something like that.
Well, we'll just edit this out, okay? But anyways.
Well, I might leave it in.
We might leave it in, yeah.
Early on, we said something, and I was like, I guess I'll edit this out, and it ended up becoming funny. I was like, I'll leave this in now.
Yes.
But anyways, this is Dan the Plastic Man saluting my plastic army, and I will talk to you guys at the next video.
I'm Second Soundwave, and I'll see you next time.
And Max Duo with a simple bye-bye.